Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, good evening, DCL Patreon fans, and eventually it'll be DCL podcast fans as we put this out on the feed as well. But we are on the Cove on the beautiful Treasure, and with me today is Christy down in Florida. How you doing today, Christy?
I am well, Steve. You are so lucky that your flight was yesterday because we are in like a torrential downpour. Like it's like worse than the last hurricane was.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be any better tomorrow when I got to go down there also, so we'll see. But I'm going to let you introduce our other guest that's with us today.
The other person who is in the torrential downpour and the lightning and the storm, so hopefully we keep all of our power, is Amber.
Hello. That's a good point about the power. We got to get a move on here.
Yeah, hopefully it stays. We already got one comment from Poor Lake. He was going to be with us tonight, but they're at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party, and I guess it's pouring. So stay safe out there, Lake and Katie.
That's unfortunate.
So rainy. It's like really bad.
And scary lightning too right now.
Yeah.
Do they ever clean the parks out when it gets like that? They don't, do they? They just have people just got to be smart and get out of the way.
No, but if everything is rained out, and Lake, if you're listening, go to guest services at the end of the night, and they oftentimes, like if it's like this for hours, they can give you tickets to come back to a future. And it's not like, fortunately for you, Lake, it's a 45-minute drive or a half-hour drive. It's not, a whole new flight in. So you would have an opportunity to come back.
You and the other 10,000 people that are at the party all trying to get refunds as they leave.
Yeah, but
yeah, no, that's a good point, and that is a good point, and probably a lot of people aren't even thinking about that. But before we are going to talk I cannot talk. We are going to talk about a bunch of different topics today. But before we do that, Amber's been a long time catching up with you. What have you been up to? What cruise have you been on lately?
No cruises lately.
What cruise were you almost going to go on?
Oh my gosh, I was dying to go this week. This very week, the Fantasy is going to St. Martin, which I've been dying to go to I went 9 years ago. I've been dying to go back. And it goes to Puerto Rico. It's just a regular 7-day cruise out of Port Canaveral. But those two super random ports, I was so tempted to just YOLO and go. But then I'm like, I'll be responsible and keep my kid in school. Stuff. I know.
You should have grabbed Christy and went.
I know. I texted her. I'm like, Christy, convince me not to go on this cruise. And Christy was no help. She's like, immediately go on this cruise. But then we have 3 major trips booked too. So it's not like I'm hurting for some vacations. But St. Martin and Puerto Rico, that's random. Maybe it's random. Maybe I'm out of the loop. That seems super random to me.
No, they don't go there very often. But I also want to point out the first thing I said to you, besides was go. Well, maybe the second thing was you're texting the wrong person if you want me to talk you out of a cruise.
Know. Christy was no help at all. Zero help.
Yeah, Christy is definitely an enabler, that's for sure. So, well, true. And the last time we talked to you, guys were in Bermuda. You got another. Did you rebook another Bermuda cruise?
No, I was really tempted to. There's a bunch coming up here. But once again, I'll keep my kid in school. No, my next cruise is actually Royal Caribbean for next spring break. So I have 0 Disney cruises booked. So it's really sad. But not to make myself sound boo-hoo. We are going to Alani in February. So I'm pretty excited about that.
That's very exciting.
How long are you going to be out there for?
8 days, I think. So nice. My kid's going to miss a lot of school there. So that's why we're kind of going to be responsible for that.
Oops, got a little bleed over there.
Christy.
Yeah, I was putting our feed on so I can see the comments. And I played it. And I already turned down the volume. It just didn't listen to that. So far, Lake's the only one watching and me. So I don't even think Lake's watching anymore.
That's okay. Hopefully they're being safe out there. Well, let's jump into a couple of topics. There wasn't like a lot of news this month. Well, there was, but we've kind of already talked about it. The announcement of the treasure.
Yeah.
So a lot of this is on the treasure a little bit. We'll talk about a little bit about Lighthouse Point. There was a comment I found, and maybe you guys will understand it. I didn't quite understand it. I threw it in there. We'll talk about it in this, and we'll talk a little bit about Disney Band Plus. Everybody's excited about that, and we got some. You put the question out there, Christy, on Instagram to get people's tips for cruising, and I thought we'd run through some of those.
Great idea.
Let's go.
All right, let's jump into it. All right, so the Disney Treasure was revealed earlier this month. We had a whole show about that. Bookings are open and underway for all Castaway Club members and first-time sailors. Looking at the inaugural, rooms are available for most categories of staterooms on the December 21st inaugural cruise. It's a sailing to the Eastern Caribbean. Reminders, there are restrictions on this, no name changes, and the deposit is non-refundable and non-movable. Christy, are you surprised that they didn't sell it out right away? Oops, you're muted.
I was off my screen and I am muted. And I just realized that. So I am not surprised, because when you have a cruise that is 15 months from now, that you cannot get your deposit back on, and your deposit is not insignificant, and that cruise happens to be over the week of Christmas, and you cannot change your names, it's too long.
Plus the price point too.
Yeah, and the price point. Liz has just joined us, and she says hello from the Best Coast.
Thanks for representing, Liz. I love it. We'll talk about a couple other points here. I think, Amber, you're going to be waiting for those Florida residency rates to open up for that inaugural cruise, right?
Yes. Once again, Christy was trying to convince me to book with her or you, Steve, in January. And I was super tempted, but the fact that it's not sold out like crazy, maybe I have a chance, to get on there within the next 2 or 3 years. So we'll see.
Do you think it's the longer sailings too, Christy?
No. Well, okay, no. I think it's the time of year when you release it. So yes, it's a week-long sailing, and it is over a holiday, or even if you go into the year, the kids are back in school. And I realize not everybody has kids, but you know what? The people that don't have kids are booking the cruise with less worry. And us with children in school are like, do we take them out? And then some of us think, yes, we do. And some of us are like, not ready to make that decision yet. So I don't think the cruise was that expensive, except for the inaugural, the first two. But honestly, compared to a week-long fantasy over the holidays, it isn't so far off. So to me, I didn't feel like the prices were so far off, even for the holiday sailings. But if you could just go a week later, you literally could book concierge, which I realize you could just not, but you could book concierge for the same price as a veranda cabin over the inaugural, and you could literally go 3 weeks later. So I think some people have that thought. We know that some people are booking. Obviously, we have some listeners that have booked, and we cannot wait to hear about it. Hopefully, there will be a pre-inaugural that could go out to perhaps an Amber or a Christy. And you know what? We would love to report back on it. I'm pretty sure Amber already requested the pull-out couch.
I did, yes.
So she's already booked on that. If I get invited, I don't know if I'll get invited because our Disney contact has changed. But I don't think it was so far off in the price. But I do think if people can just say, I'll just go a little bit later, even over spring break, I don't think those prices were so far off what they would typically be. even that much further off what they would typically be. So I think people are going to pick those cruises instead of the first two. And then with the rest of it, it's like every week kids have school, right? So that's going to delay. Like that season's always a little bit slower. Those cruises are always having a hard time being filled.
True, and then that's why they run the Marvel Day at Seas and the other Star Wars Day at Sea when they ran that, and Pixar now. So
Very true.
Some things to kind of entice people to jump on those. So all good points there. So overall, other than the first couple of cruises, the rates are kind of comparable to what we've seen on the Fantasy, and they're to an extent.
Somebody has told me that it is like a few thousand more than the last Fantasy's Christmas sailing or whatever. But for like a family of four, I just looked, it's just under 17,000 for a veranda. I think the inside room at 14,000 is a stretch. But
this is the inaugural.
This is the inaugural.
Yeah.
You scared me for a second.
Because it drops down. It drops down quite a bit after that. Yeah.
Literally, it's like a third almost if you go in January. Obviously, January has garbage weather. There's so many reasons potentially not go. But also, if you can swing it right, it's not quite a third, but almost a third of the price to cruise at that time. So those are some of the factors. And there's going to definitely be people that want to be in there in the beginning. I think there's people that were concerned about whether the ship would be done or not. But if we look at, we have some listeners that have like added some input. There's been a lot of chatter in our Patreon group about this. Like they have a lot more time to get the ship done than they did for the Wish. And so hopefully that's not an issue.
Yeah, I think they pushed the timeline out a little bit further, and I don't have it right in front of me, but Chris worked those dates out compared to what they had with the Wish. Well, the Treasure is going to be sailing to the Eastern and Western Caribbean and can be booked as far out as May 31st right now, May 31st, 2025, that is. So they right up to the beginning of summer, basically. I know you guys are already in summer out there, but summer for the rest of the country sometimes. There are two sailings, February 1st and March 29th, which feature stops in Tortola and San Juan, Puerto Rico versus St. Thomas. Amber, if you want to jump on one of those,
nice.
Puerto Rico.
I do.
Yeah. We talked about the rates. Amber, we didn't get a chance to talk to you. First time being on since they announced it. Kind of what are your overall thoughts about the Treasure? What are you excited about some of the things that they announced so far?
You know, obviously it's amazing. Everything about it. I'm all for it. I guess some of my thoughts are, you know, the Wish is still like super new and maybe a little bit more accessible with the 3 and 4 days. Like I've been on the Wish twice, but compared to like the Dream, which I've been on 6 or 7 times, like the Wish to me is still like new and exciting. So while obviously the Treasure is like extremely new and exciting, could I save thousands of dollars and just go on the Wish, which is pretty much the same thing, except I'm missing the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea bar. You know what I mean? I guess that's my thoughts. Like if I had the choice between one or the other and one is half the price or more than half the price, granted it's a shorter cruise, I don't know. Those are my random ramblings about the Treasure. Although I'm dying to go on it on the other hand.
What about Coco, the restaurant?
Oh my gosh, 100%, 100%. Not because I love Coco, just because I don't like Arendelle. Although I do love Coco, like I love Coco and that music, and you know I love a taco. But Arendelle is like my least favorite thing ever. So both of those, 100%.
Hot takes from Amber.
I'm not a Frozen fan. Unlike Christy, I do love the Marvel restaurant, even though it's the loudest thing in the world. So I'm glad that's back. And then the 1923 is just spectacular.
I'm excited to see some of the artwork and stuff that they have in this 1923. A little bit different take than what they have on the Wish. How about the lounges? You talked about the Skipper's Society and then also the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea bar.
Yeah, I love where they're going with those. I love a good random theme, you know, like 20,000 Leagues. That's like 60 years old and we're still theming stuff to it. I'm so excited with these like random choices they're making. Like the the ice cream stand, how it's themed after like 5 seconds of Zootopia. I love it. I just love it. It's so ridiculous. I'm 100% excited for it.
Christy can't wait to get her popsicle.
Oh, I know. Great. If they're not selling those there, come on. They have to sell those there.
Amber,
I'm not going to buy one. You know
okay.
that. But they just have to sell them there.
Yeah, I love the fact. I mean, Disney keeps pushing the IP thing, and that's fine. I mean, I think it's just the way it's going, and a lot of people love that. And with the new stuff with Coco, that totally makes sense. But I love the fact that they've taken some nods to some older stuff like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I know your husband's a beer guy, so I'm sure he's going to enjoy having a beverage down there.
Yes, and I'm a big trivia fan, so that was always the place for trivia. Was that kind of that lounge? So
I got to ask this question: How do the fries on the Wish rate compared to the Dream? Were they consistent? You think? Or are you worried about this with the Treasure?
I mean, I'm not, because the poolside, like Mickey and Minnie section on the Wish is like A+ perfection. So I'm so glad they're bringing that back. It sounds like they're making no changes. Per the little map, had the little Donald head and Mickey head. So I love that about the Wish.
I really like the barbecue there. Tim says, I am happy about the San Juan February 1st cruise. So yeah, we were trying to figure out a way to get on that, but our cruise is just the regular Tortola and St. Thomas, unfortunately, that we booked on it. So any other thoughts about the Treasure, Amber?
No, I mean, I guess when the Wish came out, I was like crazy excited because it was all new. Watching that video, and I watched it 4 times in one day. So I was very excited, but it was just like, here's the Wish with a new paint job. But I am super excited, but the Wish was all new. This is like 10% new, and I'm crazy excited to see that 10%.
Well, let's move on to Lighthouse Point. And I guess I totally missed this, but correct me if I'm wrong on this, but Destination D23, which they just had down there, they announced Disney Magic has a 3-night sailing on June 6, 2024, which will be the preview cruise of the island. And the passengers on board will be the first to visit. Didn't they already announce that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't new.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
People are on it. They're booked on it. Like,
right.
Yeah.
And then is it a DVC cruise that's after that? I think that goes there. Do you know, Christy?
Maybe.
You can look it up if you want. If not, no worries. I think it's a DVC cruise that goes there next. But it also, and this is the part
it can't be. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Because the Fantasy leaves on the 8th.
Oh, that's right. And that's the one you guys are on.
I think that there's another Magic cruise that's DVC before. I'm pretty sure the Fantasy is next because it's called the inaugural Lighthouse Point cruise. They didn't call it inaugural Disney Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point. They just called it Lighthouse Point.
Okay, so this is what I was looking up, and a listener can correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe you guys can, but I was reading through this article. It says it also sounds like the aforementioned Disney Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point refers to an island retreat, which may be a club guests can visit as they exit the ship. You hear anything along that line?
Isn't that the name of the whole thing?
That's what I thought too. But
I'm not gonna lie, I was very confused by that when that came out about the Lookout Cay. Because I'm like, is it Lighthouse Point? Is it Lookout Cay? Is this a section of Lighthouse Point? And I'm not gonna lie, I did zero research on this to answer my questions. But I am very confused on what Lookout Cay is or Lookout Key versus what Lighthouse Point is.
The Disney Cruise Line presentation at Destination D23 was a little wonky. So it was a little confusing at points. So anyways, bookings are underway for the Disney's newest private island. But if you want to visit, you're going to have to book a cruise out of Fort Lauderdale in the Disney Magic or the Disney Dream when she comes back in the fall of 2024. Although, Chrissy, there are some fantasy sailings as well.
Yes.
Okay. But the Treasure and Wish will not be going to Lighthouse Point.
Not at this time.
So those are your options. Your main options are going to be down to Fort Lauderdale, which obviously helps drive traffic down there. So, all right, let's turn to Disney Band Plus, which is going to make its debut on the Disney Magic on the October 2 sailing out of San Diego. Disney Band Plus is currently available on the Disney Wish and the Fantasy. No dates have been set for the Wonder and the Dream yet, although the Wonder is currently in dry dock, getting ready for sailings to Hawaii and then on to Australia. We haven't seen any mention as to what they're actually doing on the Wonder.
No, but there's like cranes and things, and it looks like they were resurfacing a deck or something. So they're doing some things.
And she's going to be gone a long time down to Australia, so definitely getting ready for that. Disney Band Plus, did you used it, right, Christy, when you were on your cruise? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
How did it work?
It worked great. We had 0 issues, used it for shopping. You don't use you don't have to enter the PIN when you're shopping. It also, Disney has it. You know how when you would flash your Key to the World card, it would show your Castaway Club level? This is in there. Like as soon as they tapped my band, they knew that we were platinum and we'd get our 10% off. If at the stores, it worked perfectly for opening the stateroom door. It worked perfectly for Blake getting in and out of the kids club. One thing that our listeners, Diane and Mark, pointed out is that they felt like the band fell off easier than regular Magic Bands. And maybe even Magic Band Plus. And Dave's fell off the first day, but it was like fell off in his backpack. So he was digging for something. And so we found it in the backpack. And our listeners had the same experience where the husbands fell off really quickly. And then I think their daughter lost it. So like if you're going to use it on your child, I would recommend having them put the lock on it still so it doesn't fall off. Now, if you make the band so tight that you can't slide it off your kid's wrist, then you have to cut the lock off every night. So that is a thing. But if you're my child and have like sensory issues with wearing that band at night, he always makes his so it can just slide off. And so he just left the lock on, but slid it on and off every day. So like he would wake up in the morning. If he was leaving the cabin, he'd slide it on. And he would slide it off before bed. So that is an option. Or you can just have them put a lock on every day, or you can just risk losing it. But then they don't need the other Kids Club Magic Band because they have the Magic Band on that will designate the cabin number and lifeboat number and all that kind of stuff.
It's the Disney Oceaneer band. So they're still offering them, it says. And just remember that if you decide to go that route rather than buying a Disney Band Plus, to turn it back in at the end of the cruise unless you want to keep it. Otherwise, you're going to be charged. Amber, are you a fan of the Magic Band Plus?
I mean, I don't like buying things.
I was afraid to ask that.
And who was it? Is it Nova who hates lanyards? I love a good lanyard. So I don't know why I would wear a Magic Band Plus, but we'll see. Maybe it will turn, but I don't know. I don't wear a watch in real life. I don't wear a Magic Band ever. I'm still, when I go to a hotel, I get an old-fashioned key to put on my lanyard. So, and the fact that you still need your Key to the World card to leave the ship, it's like, I already got this thing that's hanging around my neck. I don't know. We'll see if I get suckered into the cute designs or not.
So it's $49. We just ordered ours. I wasn't going to do it, but we did it anyway. So it's $49.99 or something like that if you ordered ahead of time.
So that price went up.
It did.
Like it was less expensive, and then it did provide a $10 off pre-purchase, just like if you were staying in a Walt Disney World hotel, that you could do that. Mm-hmm. And pro tip, if you are staying in a Walt Disney World hotel and you want a band that's not the 3 cruise bands, basically 3 or 4 cruise bands, you could still order it for your Walt Disney World stay and use it on the cruise. As long as it's Magic Band Plus.
Right. So yeah, no discount anymore. It was $49 each or $44.95 each or something like that. I think it came out to just under $90 for 2 of them, for Wake and I for our Magic cruise. But
you're not selling me on this, Steve, at all.
No, I didn't.
But wait, Christy, so if I have a Magic Band Plus, which I don't, but my husband does for some reason, can I use that? Can he use that on you have to like do something like guest services or whatnot? Or
I don't. So before the cruise, okay, let me back up. Before the cruise, you have to link something in your profile for Disney Cruise Line. Like
Okay.
I logged in on the computer and it was something like link your profile. Like it was literally something like that. And then the Magic Band Plus that I had bought previously so we could take it to Disneyland, and then it never worked in Disneyland, but it would work in Disneyland if something didn't work for us, but it would typically work for everybody else. That Magic Band was in my profile, but then I could not help myself with the cute little cruise one, and so we bought those two. But I'm done with hopefully with Magic Bands. But
Sure you are, Chris.
so stop it. Chris's $50 a Magic Band. I'm pretty sure I'm done.
Yeah.
Chris's Magic Band will work. And when you go to board the ship, they have to like scan it with their little iPad.
Okay. Interesting.
So to sort of activate it. So when you are boarding the ship, make sure your Magic Band or Disney Band Plus is in your carry-on or on your wrist already so that they can scan it.
Okay.
If you don't scan it, like by the check-in person, they'll give you this little card where you still have to scan it, but in the port. And I'm just like, we didn't want to stand in another line. And so the guy made his iPad work and it got scanned. So just know that, have it with you. Otherwise, I assume guest services on the ship can scan it. But, again, nobody wants to stand in that line on the first day.
Yeah, for sure.
No,
Interesting.
definitely. So we'll try it out on the Magic, kind of report back on that. But I'm glad it worked well for you. And to Amber's point, to get on and off the ship, you still have to have your key to the world card. So don't leave that.
With Magic Band Plus, Disney Band Plus, you are if you want all the features, you need to charge them like every night. And that would be to make the like firework and I think something in the theater lights up too. But if you don't charge it every night, it still works to open your door, because we didn't charge ours one time, to open your door, make your charges, all of those things. So like I wouldn't be too tripped up by the fact that you're supposed to charge those bands, but it loses the like light up feature.
So if you want to make the horn go off or some other fun things while you're on board, keep it charged up. All right, Chrissy, on to the next one. We've got a food comment from one of our listeners.
Yeah, so we talked about on a show about eating at Remy and how I said I was worried about it because I don't eat seafood and with my gluten allergy. And this listener wrote in and said that he and his wife sailed on the eastbound transatlantic on the Dream. And hello, we are jealous. And because they had several food allergies, they ate at Remy several times. He does not eat fish, and the chef was great on our second dining trip. He came out to chat. He said it was a nice change to have a challenge for the chefs. And with his no fish and wife's onion or allergies, he came up with a lot of exciting menus for us. And this listener said that the chef did a fantastic job. So I think that's great to know that you could have limitations and you can talk to them ahead of time and they can come up with a really cool meal for you. Obviously, go on.
Go ahead.
It's chef dependent, right? Like there's, of course, been times where we've been somewhere and the chef is like, this is the menu. And so not to say that can't happen, but now, at least recently on the Dream, there was a different result, which is fantastic.
I like the fact that they felt challenged, that it was kind of like a fun thing to do for the week to come up with some different menu items. So yeah. I'm guessing I've never eaten at Remy. You haven't eaten at Remy yet either, have you, Amber?
No.
Oh, because you ate at Enchanté, which is essentially the same. But I was like, wait a minute.
That's true. I did go to Enchanté on the Wish, but I've never been to Remy on the other two ships.
How was that? How was Enchanté?
So it's not my thing.
Because she goes to French fries over Apollo.
Right. But it was pretty awesome. Like, this is so ridiculous. The main thing I remember is the plates like bent. Like it looks like a plate, and then the guys clearing your tape, after every course are like, get this out of you. And he's like, oh, let me just bend these things into like a ball. But they were like metal plates, and we're like, what is happening here? That's the ridiculous thing I remember from Enchante. So Google that if you're watching this, the bendable plates at Enchante.
A little bit of Disney magic right there.
It's ridiculous.
So, yeah, that's funny. I that's goals. I definitely want to go to Remy, I think, and Enchante, I guess, on the Treasure one of these times. All right, I'm gonna just jump onto this last one. All right, we got two other things. Ground transportation to and from Port Canaveral has increased from $39 per person to $45 per person for 2024. So getting a little pricey up there. Still going to be cheaper maybe than Uber, but
if you're a party of one.
Yeah, but rental cars maybe. Christy, any other options that you have, ideas for people to get from whether it's the airport or Walt Disney World?
There's private car service. So, and honestly, if you were going to have a rental car for your Walt Disney World trip, and if you were going on a shorter cruise, the Wish or just the Fantasy when they're going to do their shorter cruises, I would say if you're going to rent a car, keep it, pay to park it, because returning the rental cars and or re-renting the car at the port is a lot. Nova was there and eventually had, after 2 hours, got coffee DoorDashed to the rental car line because there was no end in sight in this line for them. And so just keep that in mind. If you have kids with you and or other people that might not be in a position to stand in this rental car line for hours, it might be worth it to not do a one-way rental for each of the legs of your cruise.
One way you can get around those lines is if you, and this generally is with like Hertz. Why am I totally drawing a blank on it?
Are you like the skip the line and return it clubs? I don't think they exist at that little tiny place.
Oh, at the place at the port. I'm sorry, I missed that. I thought you were talking about the airport. Never mind.
No. The airport is fine and everything's normal, and definitely fill out those club the frequent user, even if you're not frequent clubs, because if you can just go direct to the car to get your car, so much better. I know Avis, right? Is that what you're thinking of?
That's what I was totally trying to blank. That's what we use all the time too, and I'm totally trying to blank on it. So, but I come to the airport and I see all those people standing in the line to get their cars, and it's just like if you join I know Hertz and Avis and Enterprise and a couple other ones do it, where you can just go straight to your car. It saves you so much time.
It doesn't work though, like at the car care center, because we'll sometimes rent from there. Like if we're getting our car repaired or things, we need 2 cars at a time, because they're just like, it's just a tiny little one counter situation. And so when that happens, everybody has to wait in line.
So one other thing that just came out was Bob Iger was in the news again, and he announced that Disney will double down on what they spend on their parks, experiences, and products divisions, which includes $60 billion over the next 10 years. I'm losing my voice here, sorry. Disney Cruise Line falls under this. I'm not sure exactly which. Do you guys know which division it totally falls under? Is it experiences? I think it's experiences. Irregardless, it falls under this the parks basically. They've already committed to 2 more Triton class ships be on the Disney Wish. The Treasure's one of them, and as we found out, they've already built the floating engine room for the 3rd one, so it's coming quick. I texted or emailed with my friend Florian that lives over in Germany. He said they're like ahead of schedule for that 3rd ship, so watch that one coming soon. The Disney Adventure, the big one that they bought, is currently undergoing reimagining for her debut in Asia. They've got Lighthouse Point coming on line next summer as a second island destination, and so a lot of money is going into the cruise line too out of this, so we can see some of the investments that they've already committed. It'll be interesting to see what they do with the parks going ahead. Not much to say about that unless you guys have any comments or anything. No. Okay. I just thought it was interesting. That's a ton of money, but excited to see them do that. If you follow their stock and everything, the stock price is down. But the one thing where they are making a lot of money on is the parks. The is way up as far as that goes. So, but I'm not going to go into it any further than that. So, Christy, you put out on our Instagram page several months ago, 10 weeks ago, kind of a question, looking for cruise tips, and I thought we could run through some of the ones that we got from our listeners. We got quite a few of them. I'm not sure if we'll get through all of them, but we'll just start with our good friend Kim, who wanted us to explain fish extenders. Who wants to because we were just talking about this, like joining the Facebook groups. And you get on the Facebook group, and the first thing you're met by if you sign up for that cruise or book that cruise right away, you see all this stuff about fish extenders. And if you're new to it, who wants to try and take that on as what fish extenders are? Amber?
Are you pointing to me, someone who's never done it before? But that would be my tip is obviously it looks fun. It looks cool, especially if you have kids. They're getting little treats all the time. But for your first cruise, I would say 100% don't do it. Again, that's just my opinion. But it looks like a lot of work. I mean, have you ever walked from like front to back of the ship? Like it's far. And I just can't imagine like walking all over the place, delivering little gifts to people, much less the packing you must have to do to pack all this stuff. I'm already struggling. I mean, you have to bring your 47 pairs of shoes on the 3-day cruise. How do you have room for all these treats? Christy, have you ever done it before?
We've done it twice. Once was because Nova made us when we did our cruise all together last summer. And 2022. And it was because Nova's cabin was going to be next to my cabin, and my kid would see the little fish extender. And if Nova's kiddo was getting a gift, my kid would want a gift. So we did it. And you know what? I've done it twice. It's a lot. Now, we had Brian come on episode 289, where we talked about you can do a search now. Lake fixed our website to do a search. So you can search fish extender on dclpodcast.com. We talk all about the fish extender, so you can learn about it. I think this is off Apple Podcasts, so I'm pretty sure you have to listen to it at this point on the website. And Brian gives suggestions. He does it almost on all of his cruises. They absolutely love it. I am not that crafty. I am not that creative. Therefore, I have a hard time doing those. And it is a lot of luggage stuff. And you get a lot of stuff that isn't really something you will keep, but it is cute. And your kid will be excited about it for like 30 seconds.
I will toss this in there. On our Bermuda cruise, this person's door was like right by the stairs. So every time you walk by the stairs, you see a couple doors. And they had a like tray that they had glued some magnets to. So then the tray was like stuck to their door. And they had 2 trays. One had croc charms in there. And one had like stickers, like single stickers. And they were just free for everybody. So it's kind of in the same vein as that. But this was just like every day they would like fill up these buckets with croc charms and stickers. And it was always fun to be like, what's in there today? And, by the end of the day it would be empty, and then it would get refilled every couple of days. So if you're looking to give away stuff, that's another way to just do it for fun. I've also had random people just walk up to my kid and give them like a pencil or a sticker book or something. They just brought stuff to pixie dust people with as they're walking around. So that's kind of another option.
Yeah, Liz brings, she must put it on her door in some way, our listener, and she puts some stickers in there and gives out stickers. So, and there's a lot of people now doing, like they'll do pin trading on their door. And then they'll also do, like on our last cruise, there were several people that did suckers. And so like your kid could just go up and have a sucker. One of the suckers, though, was like a whistle sucker. I question that choice for a cruise ship. But that was there. I did not go and get my kid a whistle sucker. And fortunately, I didn't hear any other children using their whistle sucker on the ship. But so some people will do that and put it out. And in the Facebook groups, they'll say, hey, come to this cabin door during the cruise and get, pick up a free sucker.
So what I hear you guys saying is maybe on your first cruise, give it a pass unless you're like a real giver as far as doing the full fish extender thing. But if you like to craft and you like to give things away, it sounds like a fun thing to possibly do.
And if it's a longer cruise, like I wouldn't do it on a 3-night for sure. There's just not enough time to like.
Yeah, 100%. Seems like a big time commitment. It would take at least 2 hours to walk all over the place. And that's some precious time, on your sea days.
Good points there. Well, let's jump into what Liz said, because she dropped in and she said in all caps, get the placeholder. We hear that all the time. 10% off is one of the few ways you're going to save money on a Disney cruise, unless you live in Florida and you're lucky enough to get one of those Florida rates. Don't do fish extenders on your first cruise, but buy a magnet, put it on your door. It's nice for identifying purposes. So when you're walking down the hall, you can remember where your door is. And always remember, room service is free, but remember to tip. But is there any cost to any room service items right now? No.
Yes, they sell popcorn in the bag that is like $4. They sell like M&Ms or something random like that you can get through room service. I think they've started doing beverages now, so you could get like a cappuccino delivered to your room or a beer or cocktail. And so those obviously have a charge. The menu, I believe, and I should try to remember in a few weeks to take a picture of the room service menu, because it's all on the app now. It'll list like the things that are included and then the things with an additional charge. Just remember to tip your delivery person. It's customary to tip like $1 or $2 an item. And you can get Mickey bars by room service. This is one of my favorite things. They're like $6 at the park, and you Seriously. Can give 3 of them and give the guy like $3 or $4, and you get a lovely, less expensive snack included.
Disney's one of the few cruise lines that still has free room service. Like, I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos just about generic cruising, and like it's not free. And even some of the higher, like Princess Cruise Line, it's not free anymore. Stuff like that. So it's just kind of a big deal that Disney's still hanging around giving away free room service.
Yeah, I worry about that actually, because even Celebrity in the last year, 6 months or so, has started charging for their room service, and they didn't used to. It used to be included, and it's kind of expensive delivery charge. So I do worry about that in the future, but hopefully it stays.
So Amber, I know you can identify with this next one, talking about the water in the Caribbean in the winter, but I'll tell a quick story. The first time I went to Egypt with the Air Force, it was in December, and we're like going to Egypt, right? There's camels, it's the desert, it's going to be hot. All I packed was shorts and t-shirts. And who knew that it's like 70 degrees, 60 degrees sometimes during the day, and freezing down in the 20s in the night. So this comes from Caitlin. She says, this will sound silly, but I actually was just telling someone this. Bring long pants and a sweater, i.e. lounge pants, formal, a light sweater, sweatshirt, etc. I clearly remember crying on my first cruise because it was so cold, and I packed only warm weather clothing like I was headed straight for the beach. It was a Caribbean sailing, but those vessels are kept cold inside. I'm always cold, but my gosh, was it bad. I've never forgotten this sense, and I was quite young.
That was me who went to Old Navy hours before one of my cruises because I had forgotten to pack pants. And yes, the AC is set to 37 degrees. And then, of course, even on the deck at night, it's like, tropical storm winds. It gets chilly up there. So yes, definitely always sweatshirt, always at least one pair of pants. It's a must.
I will say in the last 4 years, 3 years, 2 to 3, 3 to 4 years, it is not as cold on those ships anymore. So I feel like obviously on deck, weather's the weather. And sometimes I feel like the theater is still a little bit chilly, which makes sense because they need to keep the performers from overheating. But I used to be much cooler in and around the ship. And there are definitely times where I'm like, the air conditioning's not quite as great.
I think you're right about that, because I used to always take the blue blanket from the room to the movie theater with me because it was always freezing in there. And I still do, but I don't find myself needing it. It's just now kind of like a cozy blanket. So yeah, maybe they are cranking up the heat a little bit, but still always pack a sweatshirt and pants. Always. And fuzzy socks. That's my tip. I don't know if anybody mentioned that. The rooms are freezing. You need your fuzzy socks.
A lot of people had those Sully slippers on during our Christmas cruise, which was kind of funny. The big blue ones to keep their feet warm, running around in the evening. So, all right, this one, I think you guys can both touch on this one. There's kind of two of them together saying the same thing. JK Mickey says, "Don't forget to relax on vacation, and you will be back. So if you miss something the first time, you'll make it up the next time. Slow down and relax." But before you guys say anything about that, Emily also says, "I'd advise first-time cruisers not to try and scheme and plot the way the seasoned ones do to get their preferred dining rotation or whatever. Just let it come to you, experience it fresh, and let yourself be in the moment. Don't try and mimic the behavior of the folks who have cruised over and over again, because they all develop their methods over time. You'll develop your methods over time too." Christy.
I agree.
That's it.
I have these clients that will watch certain videos and they were like, "Well, I heard that you have to do this, 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 and this." And I'm like, "Well, you can, but it's your first cruise, and you could also just see, like, let the experiences happen, see what your family enjoys. You can very much overschedule yourself on a cruise, but you could also just let it happen and sort of see what the family wants to do, or whoever you're cruising with, and whatever you want to do. And maybe that is just reading a book for a while because you work a lot of hours, or you know what I mean? And so if you plan every single second, it makes it very hard to enjoy the moment and enjoy the cruise and even know what you're going to enjoy, because you don't know in advance. So that's my advice.
Yeah, my theory with all vacations is I want to know all the things just so I know what I'm like. If you don't know something and you miss it, you're like, "Oh, I wish I knew that." Like, I don't have to do this list of a million things, but I want to know they exist so I can pick and choose wisely. But I get it. It's hard to spend thousands of dollars, fly to Florida, take a week off of work, and like, you want to get your money's worth. Like, I get it. This is a big deal. And some people don't realize they will be back. We all know you will, but it's a big investment, so you want to plan it out. But so it's hard to be like, calm down, read a book, or it's like, I could have read a book at home. But I get it. You do need to calm down, and it will be magical regardless of what you do.
I know you're usually pretty busy on the cruise, Amber, but in a good way, in such that like it's not all structured. Like, I feel like that's the one good thing about cruising is you don't necessarily always have to structure yourself, and you see other seasoned cruisers structuring things. One of the best things I think you do is you go and explore all the different things, and you never know what you're going to run into that you might like.
And plus, it's pretty cool because like I can do this. I can have this annoying schedule for myself. And it's like, "Hey, family, see you in an hour. I'm going to go do this thing while you go read a book or watch a movie in the room." You don't have to be with your family 24/7. You can bop around for hours at a time.
All right. This one is it works for some people. It doesn't always work for everybody. You just never know. Disney puts these commercials out there, and the kids are in the kids clubs having a great time, and the adults are toasting each other in drinks and everything else. But it doesn't always work for your kids to really want to be in the kids clubs. And I know, Chrissy, you've kind of gone through that and on the opposite swing of it now. But one of the big tips is always on the first night, especially for the older kids, to go to the icebreakers. But for the younger kids, if you have kids on DCL, go to the Oceaneers clubs during the open house. Get them. This comes from 5 Hungry Travelers. Go to the Oceaneers Club during the open house to get them registered and boost their excitement. You don't want them to take 3 days to warm up to the idea of the kids club and still FOMO, so they will enjoy it to the fullest extent.
Yeah. When Blake was younger, he wasn't as interested in the kids club. So if you have a single child, that even a child that went to camp and daycare and, preschool and is used to being in the environment with other kids, the kids club can be overwhelming for the 3 and 4-year-olds. But then there's some that are like, my one friend, she has 2 kids. One didn't go as much, and the littler one was like 4, wanted to be in the kids club all the time. and even by herself without her bigger brother. So you might have that. You just are not going to know until your kids are in there.
And yeah, definitely get there super early. Get that magic band, get it all set up. Because if you try to go right after dinner when everyone else is dropping their kids off, it's going to be a madhouse.
So just know your results may vary, and when you do come back on that second, third, or fourth cruise, they may change too. Andrew he's older. He hung with us the last 3 cruises and didn't really want to go to the vibe, but the last cruise we didn't see him at all. So he was back at it, having a great time. He's got 1 year left. He's got 1 cruise left, I think. 2 cruises left.
Oh.
Yeah, which is crazy. I know. All right, we've heard this one before. Do not fly in on the day of embarkation. Get there the day before. My first cruise, I didn't follow this rule and ended up having to sail with no suitcases.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
So yeah, definitely always, and especially I would even say in Europe, if you could do 2 days, because I've just seen over the years, the last couple of years going over there, storms, mechanicals with planes, whatever else. You've got a lot of money riding on it, and once again, a good reason to have trip insurance. So let's see. You guys have to have some advice on this one. Wait, first we have yes, Amber's on. Hey,
we'll have to listen later.
Yay, Amber, but we can't listen to you right now.
Would Chad not have listened if Amber wasn't on?
I love it, Chad. All right. I know you guys get some ideas on this one. All right. Don't wait in insanely long lines for a character, especially the first night around dinner times. Unless it's a special outfit they won't wear again, you're bound to run into them elsewhere or on another night. Any thoughts on meeting characters, Amber? I know you've done from the Marvel to all different other kind of cruises.
Well, yes. One tip off topic is, when you get the app right away and you click on Mickey, for example, you can actually see the 87 times that Mickey will be out. But if you click on like Thor, he might only be out once. So do kind of take the time to like look at the app and see like who's going to be there and when, because some characters are super random. But yeah, that's a good point. I've waited 30 minutes, for a character because I had nothing else to do and they got that snazzy outfit on. But you're right. You're going to see Mickey 3 times a day all over the place. And usually you can kind of like, there's somebody up on deck 4 with no line. I'm going to go up there instead of this massive line on deck 3. And Christy, what's it called by the theater where there's the big picture of Walt on the Fantasy and Dream?
Oh, Prelude?
Yeah, maybe. There's a lot of characters back there and it's kind of hidden unless you're going to the show. So that's always a good tip. I always see people meeting characters up by the pool deck, and I've honestly never done that.
Yeah, they're in the app to meet on the pool deck, and it has like a special name that I can't quite recall right now. Something to keep in mind is like on a short cruise, Captain Mickey and Captain Minnie will only appear in those outfits typically one time. So sometimes twice, but like in totality. So you want to make sure you get those outfits if you want them. On Pirate Night, they will do Pirate Night outfits and that start occurring like I think after 3 or something like that. On Formal Night, they'll also do Formal Night outfits, and they won't wear those outfits any other time. So, and if they're doing a Halloween on the high seas, they could do Halloween outfits as well. I had something to say as it related to characters. Oh, check what is going on, because sometimes the first night, because it's a little bit crazy, not on a 3-night cruise. Every night's going to be crazy on a 3-night cruise, but sometimes the first night's dead. On my Alaskan cruise, there wasn't a person to be had anywhere at any of the characters. Blake and I walked up to everybody.
That's crazy.
Then on the second and third night, it was jammed in there. It was like, I don't know where all these people were the first night, but they were not in line. But then just on my last cruise, the first night was absolute insanity. And we're like, nope, we don't need this character photo. So,
I do see a lot of characters at 5:45 start time, which is the start time of dinner. So, sometimes, especially if you're a seasoned cruiser and you're cool with showing up to dinner 5 minutes late, because you know what you want already, you can snag some characters at the last minute that way too.
You can also there are some at 6 or something. And
True.
on our Wonder Cruise, Blake and I used to go and see them at that time quite a bit. And Dave knows what we're going to eat, because we know what our choice is, right? So if it was, we would divide up sometimes. Sometimes one of us would be late and the other one would order for everybody. My food's already ordered anyway, besides the first night. So that is something to consider too. Give your order to a family member and then do whatever and show up for dinner when you want.
Honestly, sometimes it's just fun to wait in line too. When you're in the lobby, there's shenanigans going on. When you're on deck 4, you're looking down at the lobby. Sometimes it's just like a nice break sometimes, So it just, you have to just realize that, hey, if you want to wait in some lines, you're going to. And if you don't want to do it, then don't do it,
Right.
Some good people watching there, and especially in the lobby. I love that, either before or right after dinners and stuff like that, just to see everybody's kind of in a good mood and meeting the characters and everything else. Okay, I want to throw this one. We got time for maybe one or two more, and then we'll finish up here. But I thought this was a good one. I was on a cruise and got seasick on the Wish. I didn't know where to get seasick pills. We were docked, and I didn't know that stores were closed. When you're docked, the stores on board the ship are closed, is what she's saying. They are only open while you're at sea, right, Christy?
Yes, you have to be a certain distance from the port.
Right. So she went down there to try and get some medication, but they were closed. I found out that they had medication at the health office. If the office is closed, they have some in a tray next to the door, which I never realized that they did that either until fairly recently. But if you
nobody told us.
Yeah. So they keep them out, and maybe somebody should have one attached to their door in each one of the floors or something like that. Get your crack thing, and then also your seasick.
That's
no, I'm pretty sure there's actually a rule, actually a rule that you cannot put medication in the fish extenders.
Yeah, do not take somebody's medication.
To the point of on topic of what you can get from the ship if the stores are closed. If you need feminine products and the stores are closed, up in the Palo restaurant, they usually in the bathrooms, right? The restrooms, the ladies' room right in front of, outside of that usually has some, and you could go to guest services and get them if you are in port. And the same is true for on the island, because also the island takes quarters for if you went to the bathroom. Who is a quarter at Castaway Cay? Not one person, but you can go to the little nurses station right next to the bathroom, and they've got little baggies of things that you need.
Actually, a lot of the bathrooms right off the lobby have them for free as well.
Okay.
So if you don't want to huff it up to Palo, deck 4 or 5, maybe even 3, have all that stuff for free.
Yeah, it says feminine products by the bars on the Wonder. So
perfect.
To your point,
I know Amber, it's a very random conversation, but also it's important, and you just don't know. So
it is. All right, one more, I guess. What are we gonna do here? Pack your bathing suit in your day bag when you board the ship. The pools and slides will be empty. We did that the very first time, and then we haven't done it since. Do you guys do that?
I never do either, but I mean, it makes total sense. The pool is completely empty. I don't know. I'm just in walking around mode instead of sitting by the pool mode at that point. But that's just me personally. It's a great tip. Do it. Still do it.
And I guess I want to finish with this. Amber, what do you use? What are some of the things for people that are first-time cruisers, or maybe it's your second-time cruise? If you're not, well, this is going to be a two-part thing. I'll get to you, Christy. But what are some of the things that you use to kind of research your port adventures, or research just being on the ship and everything else? Where do you go to? Instagram, Pinterest?
I've been recently going to YouTube.
Okay.
Just watching YouTube after YouTube after YouTube, because it's just other people's it's just everyone's various opinions. And like I said, I just like to know everything. I don't need to do it, but I just need to know what my options are. So I don't like to be surprised by an option and then I have to make a decision. So YouTube is my go-to.
And the last one is what I'm gonna tee it up for you, Christy. Alexis says, a friend of yours, book with an experienced travel agent who can help you navigate the ins and outs of cruising with Disney Cruise Line. Definitely, do kind of like a financial advisor, check out your travel agent, ask them some questions. You don't have to book with them. See if it makes sense. Well, what I'm saying is like, you don't have to book with that travel agent. Find a good one like Christy, who's knowledgeable and is giving you good answers about the cruise that you want to go on. Because there's definitely travel agents that specialize in certain cruise lines or certain types of vacations. And then there's just mass market ones that just like do everything, but they've got a limited knowledge about things. But you, Christy, I know that you've been on a lot of different cruise lines and you're definitely, well-versed in Disney. So any thoughts there?
Yeah. And actually, right when you were saying that, Liz, our listener, also responded with best tip, use a travel agent. So yeah, obviously somebody who knows. I have clients, I'll send lists like last minute cruise lists, tips rather, right before their cruise, all things like things to take before you go, once you're on the ship, when you're getting off, or right when you're boarding, things like that. So your travel agent that sells a lot of Disney or understands Disney should be able to provide you with those tips. And it just helps make the experience a little better. And even in the beginning, I send out tips to my clients now that you've booked. And even if they have already been on, they're already platinum. But if they're a client of mine, I'm still going to say, here are some things unique to Disney Cruise Line that you just might not think about with other cruise lines. And so having somebody that understands the ins and outs, I'll get a lot of people that'll respond, oh, that I never thought about that, or thanks for pointing that out, because Disney is a weird little world, right? And so there are some things that are unique to Disney that you might not even think about and might not even know about. I have repeat cruisers that are like, you can go to Cabanas on the last day of the cruise. What? I didn't know that for breakfast. I thought I had to go to breakfast at 6:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning before disembarking if I wanted it. And no, you can go until 8:30. And so these are just, somebody that has like these random bits of knowledge to help make your vacation a little bit better or might make it a little bit easier is always helpful. And most of them don't have an additional charge. So you'll know if there's a planning fee. You can ask your travel agent if there's a planning fee. And depending on what they're planning, there may be a fee. But most are generally not going to have an additional charge, as Disney pays us to assist and answer your questions and book for you.
I mean, we were overwhelmed the first time we booked, so it was so nice to have somebody kind of step us through like what a stateroom is. I had no clue what to pick or anything else, so it definitely helped us out a lot. So I know a lot of people like to do their own travel stuff, but if nothing else, maybe your third cruise, try it with a travel agent. You may get some advice that you just weren't expecting, so that'll help you out. Well, as we get out of here, I'm going to throw you under the bus a little bit, Amber. Amber said that she was just going to come on and nod, and you were so awesome. It was like lots of good information. So thank you so much.
I mentioned that I do a lot of my research on YouTube. Another great place to research is listening to this podcast. We should maybe hype that up a little bit. No, the trip reports are great because, it's just, again, someone's opinion of what they did, and you listen to a bunch of those. You kind of get all the little tidbits, and then you can build your own adventure.
Definitely. We've used a lot of different things from the listeners that we are definitely not the experts. The listeners are the experts. And we've used a lot of your guys's thoughts and ideas and your experiences with our travels too. So before we get out of here though, you guys are both in the Florida area. We won't dwell on this too much, but with the Halloween season, any maybe not must-dos, but things if people are coming down there for Halloween season, Amber, that you might throw out for them? Doesn't have to be something, you don't have to go to Mickey's Not So Scary. Maybe something that they could do for free even.
No, I don't do a lot of Halloween activities.
Okay.
There's oddly enough, not a lot. Like even the places that have pumpkin patches and stuff, there's websites that'll advertise the different places you can go. They all charge to
okay.
Yeah, does Disney Springs have anything? They usually have like a trail of something. Nothing for I don't go to Disney Springs very often, so
no. Yeah, I mean, obviously you can go to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party that is like 3 days a week or something like that, in 4 days, 3 days, 4 days. And there is Halloween Horror Nights, which clearly I'm not going to. Don't know when that is. I know it's very scary and not recommended for small children. And if the not so scary party that is recommended for small children is still a little scary to me, then Halloween Horror Nights is definitely not happening.
I was going to say, I think SeaWorld maybe, but I definitely know Busch Gardens has like a super scary one as well. And that's a little bit farther, but the price point is a little bit lower. And I've heard good things. I also don't enjoy those, but those are things to think about.
You like scary movies.
That's where it ends. I don't want to be in them.
Okay. Fine.
You don't need the jump scares. Yeah, one of the flight attendants her husband came with on the trip that we just flew, and they went to, and just to be clear, Halloween Horror Nights is over at Universal, not at Disney, for those that don't know it. But they went to Halloween Horror Nights and stayed till 2:00 in the morning, and she said she never screamed so much in all her life. So
I mean, if you're going to Halloween Horror Nights, again, I'm no expert, but my friends go all the time. They do have, you can buy the ticket, of course, and then they have the fast pass, whatever it's called, because those lines are long. But they also have kind of an annual pass for Halloween Horror Nights. So if you're coming for X number of days and there's like 3 Halloween Horror Nights in your time frame, definitely look into the frequent fear pass or whatever it's called, because it's definitely worth your money to get that.
Well, all good tips there. Well, before we get out of here, I guess I was remiss, if you're listening to us for the first time, Christy, if people want to use your services, how can they get a hold of you? It'll be in the show notes, obviously.
You can find me at Pack Your Pixie Dust all over the internet, and my website is packyourpixiedust.com. In the About section, there is a way or the Contact Me section, lists all my contact information. So you can reach out, and I'd be happy to help you plan your next trip.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Amber, for hanging out with us tonight. We really appreciate it. It's good to see you, and it's a long time coming, and just enjoy the Halloween season down there in Florida as we move into October.
I know. I need to go on a cruise, so I have an excuse to come back and talk about it. But
there we go. Well, when you do, let us know, and we'll probably bring you on, even if you don't go on a cruise, because we love having you on. So thank you so much, Amber.
And in the meantime, we will find Amber mostly handling our Instagram at DCL_podcast. Anything that's funny or clever has been posted by Amber. Although there was like one time recently that Steve posted something. I was like, Amber, this is so great. And she was like, it wasn't me, actually. And it was Steve. Yeah. So he posted like one thing in the past 6 months, and it was really cute. So,
nice job,
good job, Steve.
Yeah, even a blind squirrel finds a nut sometimes. So there we go. We'll just leave it at that.
But right. Amber is hilarious. So we are so happy to have you to make us laugh.
Well, I'm trying to get more followers on DCL Podcast than Pack Your Pixie Dust has. That's my number one goal.
That is my goal to not let happen. I keep going. I have to get higher.
It's happening one of these days.
It will happen for sure, because you're very good at it. I don't appreciate that though, Amber. Forget it. You're off the friend list.
You guys are stuck together if that treasure cruise shows up ahead of time. So, yeah. Anyways, I was remiss to bring that up. I apologize, Amber. Thank you so much for all you do with the Instagram page. We really do appreciate it. It's hilarious. The post. So, all right. Well, as we get out of here, once again, thanks for coming back and taking a listen, everybody. And we'll see you next time on the DCL podcast. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
The DCL podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.